Sure. Here's the same text typed out exactly as you requested. Israel's isolation. On the Western world and Gaza. Netanyahu must not be allowed to get away with mass murder. The joint statement by the leaders of Canada, France, and the United Kingdom, and announcements by the UK and the EU to pause trade talks with Israel are proof that the Netanyahu government is growing more isolated over its brutal campaign on Gaza. Since the ceasefire ended on March 18th, over 3,000 residents have been killed in the enclave, according to the Gaza Health Ministry. Israel's chokehold on aid and humanitarian supplies has pushed thousands to the brink of starvation, a fact that even Donald Trump, president of Israel's all-time ally, the U.S., referred to during a trip to West Asia last week. Mr. Trump's decision to skip Israel was seen as a mark of his displeasure with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's policy on the issue. Despite the rebukes, Mr. Netanyahu has said Israeli defense forces needed to continue to target Hamas operatives in the area, and added that Israel would now retake full military control of the Gaza Strip, which the IDF had vacated in 2005. The comments provoked an angry response from the leaders of Canada, Mark Carney, France, Emmanuel Macron, and the UK, Keir Starmer, all of whom had pledged their support to Israeli actions in response to the October 7, 2023 terror attacks. They called the level of human suffering in Gaza intolerable, and Israel's escalation of bombardment a disproportionate response, condemned the Israeli leadership for threatening to evict all Palestinians forcibly from the Strip, and recommitted to a two-state solution for Israel and Palestine, to be discussed at a United Nations conference in June. Significantly, the three countries even threatened sanctions against Israel. Mr. Netanyahu's response to accuse the three leaders of handing Hamas a huge prize and vowing not to stop until total victory is achieved indicates that he still believes that he can continue without being checked. It is time for the international community to speak up so that Mr. Netanyahu does not think he can get away with what international agencies are calling genocide. New Delhi has notably thus far not issued any statement. This silence may be because of its own preoccupation with Pakistan and due to Israel's unequivocal support over Operation Sindoor. There is no link or equivalence between the two situations, however. Too many lives have been lost in the incessant bombardment by Israel of an area of 2 million people. Despite the depredations, Israel has not, with any clarity, met its objectives of bringing back the hostages or of wiping out Hamas's presence there yet. Mr. Netanyahu has tried to frame his government's actions as a war of civilization over barbarism, but it is he who must consider how much this directionless war that appears to punish the weakest and most defenseless, the most resembles the latter more than the former, as the numbers of supporters for this war diminish worldwide. Heading meaning Israel's isolation on the Western world and Gaza. Explanation. This heading means that Israel is becoming more and more alone or isolated in the world, especially among powerful Western countries like the UK, France, and Canada, because of its violent actions in Gaza. The editorial focuses on how the global opinion is shifting against Israel and its Prime Minister Netanyahu due to the huge suffering in Gaza. Full and simple explanation of the editorial with emojis and technical terms. 1. Western leaders criticize Israel's actions. The leaders of Canada, France, and the UK released a joint statement saying that Israel's government is becoming more and more isolated, alone with no support, because of its harsh military campaign in Gaza. Gaza is a small Palestinian territory that has been badly affected by the war. Emoji version. Canada, France, and the UK have said that Israel is becoming more and more alone due to its harsh attacks on Gaza. 2. Over 3,000 people killed after ceasefire ended. The ceasefire, a temporary stop to fighting, ended on March 18, and since then, over 3,000 people have been killed in Gaza, as per reports from Gaza's health ministry. Emoji version. Since the ceasefire ended on March 18, more than 3,000 people have died in Gaza, according to local health officials. Technical term. Ceasefire. A ceasefire means a temporary stop to fighting between two groups or countries. Example, In 2020, India and Pakistan agreed to a ceasefire at the Line of Control, LOC, to stop firing on both sides. 3. Starvation due to blocked aid. Israel has stopped most of the humanitarian aid and food supply to Gaza, which has pushed thousands of people towards starvation, dying because of lack of food. Even Donald Trump, former U.S. president and longtime supporter of Israel, talked about this issue during his recent trip to West Asia. Emoji version. Israel's block on food and aid has made thousands of people in Gaza suffer from hunger, and even Trump spoke about it during his West Asia visit. 4. Trump skipped visiting Israel. Trump did not visit Israel during his tour, and this was seen as a sign that he is not happy with how Prime Minister Netanyahu is handling the situation. Emoji version. Trump skipped visiting Israel during his West Asia tour, showing he's unhappy with Netanyahu's actions. 5. Netanyahu still continues military actions. Even after receiving criticism from many leaders, Netanyahu said the Israeli Defense Forces IDF will continue attacking Hamas, and that Israel will take back full military control of Gaza. Emoji version. Despite the criticism, Netanyahu says the army will continue attacking Hamas and take back full control of Gaza. Technical term. Israeli Defense Forces IDF. The IDF is the official military of Israel, which includes Army, Air Force, and Navy. Example. Just like India has the Indian Armed Forces, Israel has the IDF. 6. Leaders who once supported Israel are now against it. The leaders of Canada, Mark Carney, France, Emmanuel Macron, and the UK, Keir Starmer, who earlier supported Israel after the October 7, 2023 attacks, are now criticizing it. They called the suffering of Gaza people intolerable and Israel's actions disproportionate, too much compared to the threat. They also warned Israel not to throw out all Palestinians from Gaza and said they support a two-state solution. Emoji version. Leaders who earlier supported Israel are now calling the Gaza suffering unbearable and Israel's actions too much. They want a peaceful two-state solution. Technical term, disproportionate response. It means using more force than necessary in reply to an attack. Example, if someone throws a stone and you drop a bomb in return, that's a disproportionate response. Technical term, two-state solution. This is a plan where both Israel and Palestine become separate independent countries, living peacefully side by side. Example, like India and Bangladesh are two separate countries, Israel and Palestine could also become two nations under this solution. 7. Possibility of sanctions on Israel. The three countries even warned about putting sanctions, punishments like stopping trade, on Israel if it continues. Emoji version. These countries even warned of sanctions, punishments like stopping trade, if Israel doesn't change its ways. Technical term, sanctions. Sanctions are official punishments by one country or group of countries on another country, usually involving trade, money, or travel restrictions. Example, the U.S. imposed sanctions on Russia for attacking Ukraine. 8. Netanyahu says critics are helping Hamas. Netanyahu replied by saying these leaders are giving Hamas a huge prize, benefit, and he will keep fighting until he gets total victory. Emoji version, Netanyahu hit back, saying the leaders are helping Hamas and he won't stop fighting until complete victory. 9. Time for the world to act. Act. The editorial says that the global community must now speak up so that Netanyahu doesn't think he can get away with what many are calling genocide, mass killing of people based on identity. Emoji version, the world must now speak up because many believe what's happening in Gaza is genocide. Technical term. Genocide? Genocide means the planned killing of a large group of people, usually from a particular nation, race, or religion. Example, the Holocaust during World War II, where millions of Jews were killed, is considered genocide. 10. India's silence on the matter. India has not said anything yet. The editorial says this silence might be because India is busy with its own issues with Pakistan and values Israel's help during Operation Sindoor. Emoji version. India remains silent. Maybe because it's focused on Pakistan and values Israel's help in Operation Sindoor. Operation Sindoor. While not much is publicly available, the editorial hints that Operation Sindoor might be a military or security-related action where Israel supported India. 11. Israel's attack has killed too many civilians. The editorial says too many innocent people have died in the heavy bombing in Gaza, which has a population of 2 million. Emoji version. Too many innocent people have died in Gaza, a place where 2 million people live. 12. Israel's goals are still not achieved. Despite all the bombing, Israel has not been able to rescue all hostages or defeat Hamas completely. Emoji version. Even after all this destruction, Israel still hasn't achieved its goals. Hostages are not rescued and Hamas still exists. 13. Netanyahu calls it a war of good versus evil, but Netanyahu calls this a war of civilization versus barbarism, good versus evil. But the editorial says it looks more like barbarism because it mostly hurts weak and innocent people. Netanyahu says it's a fight of good versus evil, but many feel it looks more like cruelty towards the helpless. Char 14. Global support for Israel is falling. The editorial ends by saying, support for Israel is shrinking globally as more people and countries see the human cost of this war. Emoji version. Around the world, fewer and fewer people are supporting Israel's actions as suffering increases. Final summary. This editorial criticizes Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu for his harsh military actions in Gaza, which have killed many innocent people and brought suffering. It highlights how even Israel's strongest supporters in the West are now against these actions and warns that global support is reducing. The world, including India, must now speak up before more lives are lost. Would you like me to help with tomorrow's editorial too, in this same format? Here are realistic SBI PO prelim-style MCQs based on the editorial, Israel's Isolation, on the Western World and Gaza, covering all 8 types of questions from the reading comprehension section. 1 fact-based, direct question. Q1. According to the editorial, which countries issued a joint statement expressing disapproval of Israel's actions in Gaza? A. India, France, and Canada. B. Canada, France, and the United Kingdom. C. United States, France, and Germany. D. United Kingdom, India, and EU. B. Canada, France, and the United Kingdom. 2. Fact-based, negative question, incorrect statement. Q2. Which of the following statements is not true, according to the editorial? A. The ceasefire between Israel and Gaza ended on March 18th. B. Israel has already successfully wiped out Hamas from the Gaza Strip. C. Israel plans to take back full military control of Gaza. D. Over 3,000 people have died in Gaza since the ceasefire ended. Answer B. Israel has already successfully wiped out Hamas from the Gaza Strip. 3. Inference-based question. Q3. What can be inferred from Donald Trump skipping his visit to Israel during his West Asia trip? A. He was not invited by Israel. B. He had other important engagements. C. He disapproved of Israel's current policy in Gaza. D. He wanted to avoid media attention. Answer. C. He disapproved of Israel's current policy in Gaza. 4. Main idea, central theme question. Q4. What is the central idea of the editorial? A. Importance of military control in conflict zones. B. The global support for Israel's war on Hamas is increasing. C. Israel's aggressive campaign in Gaza is drawing global criticism and isolation. D. Trump's visit to West Asia was politically significant for Israel. Answer. C. Israel's aggressive campaign in Gaza is drawing global criticism and isolation. 5. Fact-based multiple statement question. Identify correct statements. Q5. Which of the following statements are correct as per the editorial? 1. Israel had vacated Gaza militarily in 2005. 2. France and the UK are considering sanctions against Israel. 3. The UN is planning a conference to discuss the two-state solution. A. Only 1 and 2. B. Only 2 and 3. C. Only 1 and 3. D. All 1, 2, and 3. D. All 1, 2, and 3. 6. Fact-based negative question. Identify incorrect statements. Q6. Which of the following statements are incorrect, according to the editorial? 1. Israel's military campaign has achieved all its objectives clearly. 2. Canada's Prime Minister is Emmanuel Macron. 3. New Delhi has openly condemned Israel's actions in Gaza. A, only 1 B, only 2 C, 1 and 2 only D, 1, 2, and 3, D, 1, and 3. 7. Vocabulary-based synonym question. Q7. Choose the word that is closest in meaning to chokehold as used in the passage. A, embrace. B, restriction. C, freedom. D, assistance. B, restriction. 8. Vocabulary-based antonym question. Q8. Choose the word that is opposite in meaning to disproportionate as used in the editorial. A, excessive. B, balanced. C, random. D, equal. B, balanced. Stories from the Heart. On Banu Mushtaq winning the International Booker for Heart Lamp. Banu's Booker will help regional languages gain global recognition. The marginalized have come to the fore, with Banu Mushtaq winning the International Booker Prize for 2025. In a first for Kannada, Mushtaq and her translator Deepa Basti walked away with the top honors on Tuesday night, May 21st, 2025, in London, for Heart Lamp. This is also the first time in the history of the prize that a collection of short stories has won. Breaching walls, breaking ceilings, and enduring angry outbursts, Mushtaq chronicles the lives of Muslim women and their anxieties. Her stories are also peopled by clueless husbands, children who are like monkeys without tails, loving and sometimes overbearing grandmothers, muscular brothers, and Malvis. But as Mushtaq has said in interviews, the narratives are primarily about women and how religion, society, and politics demand unquestioning obedience from them, and in doing so, inflict inhumane cruelty upon them. She writes with candor and wry humor, even as the women are often struggling to stay afloat with their backs against the wall. In her moving acceptance speech, Mushtaq harped on the power of words to create a world where every voice is heard, every story matters, and every person belongs. Showering praise on Kannada, she said that it is a language that sings of resilience and nuance. To write in Kannada is to inherit a legacy of cosmic wonder and earthly wisdom. The 77-year-old Mushtaq hails from Hassan in Karnataka, like another illustrious writer, Raja Rao, who wrote in Kannada, English, and French. Mushtaq, a lawyer and activist, was inspired to write after hearing of the pain, suffering, and helpless lives of the women she interacted with. The radical translation by Bashti was praised by the jury chair Max Porter, who said it ruffles language to create new textures in a plurality of Englishes. Heart Lamp's Booker, just 3 years after Gitanjali Shri won for Tomb of Sand, should open doors for India's rich regional languages to gain a wider readership. Mushtaq follows a trail of writers such as Perumal Murugan, Vivek Shanbhag, Bama, Jayant Kaikini, M. Mukundan, and S. Harish, who observe the human condition in a socio-political context, with their translators, ensuring the rhythms of the original language are not lost. In a world that often tries to divide people, Mushtaq said that literature remains one of the last sacred spaces where we can live inside each other's minds, if only for a few pages. It is the only place that can embrace stories from unheard corners and translations that defy borders. Sure, let's break down the editorial from The Hindu in a simple, detailed, and emoji-rich explanation, perfect for your SBI clerk, PO, and IBPS clerk, PO English preparation. Heading, meaning, Stories from the Heart. On Banu Mushtaq winning the International Booker for Heart Lamp. Theme message. This editorial celebrates Kannada writer Banu Mushtaq's historic win at the International Booker Prize 2025 for her short story collection, Heart Lamp. It highlights how this victory helps bring regional Indian languages like Kannada into the global spotlight and focuses on how her stories give voice to the struggles of marginalized Muslim women. Full detailed explanation with emojis. Fun 1. Victory for the marginalized. The editorial starts by celebrating the historic win of Banu Mushtaq at the International Booker Prize 2025. This win is special because it represents marginalized communities finally getting the global attention they deserve. Mushtaq's victory marks the first ever win for a Kannada language book, a huge moment for regional literature in India. 2. A big first for short stories and Kannada. Banu Mushtaq and her translator Deepa Basti were awarded the prize in London on May 21st, 2025. This is the first time in the history of the Booker Prize that a collection collects short stories has won as one. Technical term, translator. A person who changes written text from one language to another. Example, Deepa Basti translated the Kannada book Heart Lamp into English so the world could read it. Her stories are about Muslim women, showing how they face emotional struggles, restrictions, and societal expectations. 3. Real-life characters and social truths. Mushtaq's stories include a variety of real-life characters: confused husbands, naughty children, strict grandmothers, strong brothers, and religious leaders, Malvis. She explains how religion, society, and politics force women to follow rules blindly, which often leads to pain and cruelty. Technical term, chronicle, to record events or stories in detail. Example, Mushtaq chronicles records the daily lives and suffering of Muslim women. Even though the women in her stories are suffering, Mushtaq writes with honesty and subtle humor, making her storytelling both powerful and moving. 4. The power of words. In her acceptance speech, Mushtaq emphasized how words and stories can bring people together, and make every person feel seen and valued. She believes stories have the power to change the world by highlighting unheard voices. Praising the Kannada language. Mushtaq praised Kannada, calling it a language full of wisdom and emotional depth. She said, "To write in Kannada is to inherit a legacy of cosmic wonder and earthly wisdom," meaning it's a language rich in tradition and thought. 6. Her journey and inspiration. Mushtaq is 77 years old and comes from Hassan, Karnataka, just like the famous writer Raja Rao. She was originally a lawyer and activist, and was inspired to write after listening to the painful stories of the women she met. 7. Praise for the translator. The Booker jury chair, Max Porter, praised translator Deepa Basti for creating a radical translation, meaning she didn't just translate words, but brought new life and texture to them. Technical term, radical translation. A type of translation that doesn't just copy words, but reshapes language creatively to suit a different culture or tone. Example, changing a Kannada proverb into an English equivalent that gives the same meaning and emotion. 8. Impact on Indian regional literature. This win comes just 3 years after Geetanjali Shree won the Booker Prize for Tomb of Sand. It shows how Indian regional languages, just like Tamil, Malayalam, Kannada, etc., are rising globally and deserve a bigger audience. Mushtaq follows the path of writers like Perumal Murugan, Vivek Shanbhag, Bama, Jayant Kaikini, and others who write about the real problems in society and work with translators to keep the original feeling of the stories intact. Final message. Literature Unites. Mushtaq said that literature is one of the last sacred spaces where people can understand each other and connect across cultures. It allows stories from remote, unheard places to shine and proves that language and borders cannot stop emotions and human experience. Summary in one line. Banu Mushtaq's Booker win is a proud moment for Kannada literature and a powerful reminder that stories from the margins deserve the global stage. Would you like me to now create MC? Absolutely. Below are 7 real exam level MCQs based on the editorial, exactly following the SBI PO mains pattern under the reading comprehension section. These are modeled just like those you'll see in the SBI IBPS PO mains, with a mix of direct, inference, and elimination-based questions. Let's dive in. 1. Contextual fill-in-the-blank. Q1. Complete the following sentence using the most appropriate phrase from the editorial. Banu Mushtaq's International Booker win is being seen as a moment when the marginalized have finally A. Broken away from political oppression. B. Come to the fore with a voice of their own. C. Reclaimed their religious freedom. D. Found solace in fiction. Answer. B. Come to the fore with a voice of their own. Explanation. The editorial directly mentions that the marginalized have come to the fore with Banu Mushtaq winning. 2. Fact-based direct question. Q. To what significant first does Banu Mushtaq's Booker Prize win represent? A. First Muslim woman to win the Booker Prize. B. First Indian translator to win independently. C. First Kannada language work and first short story collection to win the prize. D. First lawyer to become a novelist in India. Answer. C. First Kannada language work and first short story collection to win the prize. Explanation. The editorial clearly states it is the first time Kannada has won, and also the first time a collection of short stories has won. 3. Inference-based factual recall question. Q3. What can be inferred about Deepa Basthi's translation work on Heart Lamp? A. It strictly followed the original Kannada without altering expression. B. It introduced regional slang to enhance authenticity. C. It creatively reshaped the language to suit global audiences. D. It diluted the cultural elements to appeal to Western readers. Answer C. It creatively reshaped the language to suit global audiences. Explanation. Max Porter praised the translation as a radical translation that ruffles language to create new textures. 4. Negative fact-based question. Q4. Which of the following is not mentioned in the editorial as part of the character types in Mushtaq's stories? A. Loving grandmothers. B. Disillusioned politicians. C. Clueless husbands. D. Muscular brothers. B. Disillusioned politicians. Explanation. All others are mentioned directly. Politicians are not described as characters in her stories. Inference-based Q5. Why does the editorial suggest that literature is considered a sacred space? A. Because it is free from censorship. B. Because it helps people read religious texts. C. Because it allows people to enter each other's minds and share experiences. D. Because it encourages modernist artistic expression. Answer. C. Because it allows people to enter each other's minds and share experiences. Explanation. Mushtaq says we can live inside each other's minds if only for a few pages. Negative inference-based question cannot be inferred. Q6. Which of the following cannot be inferred from the editorial? A. Banu Mushtaq's stories reflect her legal and activist background. B. Kannada is known for cosmic and philosophical wisdom. C. Mushtaq has translated her own work into English. D. Mushtaq's work brings attention to the oppression of Muslim women. Answer. C. Mushtaq has translated her own work into English. Explanation. The translator is Deepa Bashti, not Mushtaq herself. 7. Fact-based true statement identification question. Q7. Which of the following statements is our true according to the editorial? 1. Heart Lamp was awarded in 2025 at an event in London. 2. Raja Rao and Banu Mushtaq belong to the same region. 3. Mushtaq's stories are entirely fictional and do not reflect real social issues. A. Only 1B, 1 and 2. C. 2 and 3. D. All 3. Answer. B. 1 and 2. Explanation. Statement 1. True. The event was held in London, May 21st, 2025. Statement 2. True. Both are from Hassan, Karnataka. Statement 3. False. Her stories reflect real struggles and social issues. Would you like me to prepare another set of MCQs from today's or tomorrow's editorial? Here's a fresh and complete SBI PO main style reading comprehension question set, Q8 to Q15, based on the editorial you shared. Stories from the Heart on Banu Mushtaq winning the International Booker for Heart Lamp. Each question type strictly follows the SBI PO IBPS PO mains format. 8. Paragraph-specific inference-based question. Q8. What can be inferred from the first paragraph about the portrayal of Muslim women in Mushtaq's stories? A. They live glamorous and progressive lives. B. They are often portrayed as resilient but suppressed by religious and societal norms. C. They are mostly fictional and detached from real-life struggles. D. They play minor roles in her stories. Answer. B. They are often portrayed as resilient but suppressed by religious and societal norms. The first paragraph highlights that women face cruelty from religion, society, and politics, and yet try to stay afloat. 9. Negative paragraph-specific inference-based question cannot be inferred. Q9. Which of the following cannot be inferred from the second paragraph? A. Mushtaq's origin connects her to a literary legacy. B. Kannada language is deeply valued for its philosophical richness. C. Raja Rao influenced Mushtaq's writing style directly. D. Mushtaq's activism exposed her to real women's pain, which inspired her writing. Answer. C. Raja Rao influenced Mushtaq's writing style directly. Explanation. The editorial mentions both are from Hassan, but does not state he influenced her writing. 10. Paragraph-specific inference-based question. Q10. According to the third paragraph, what role do translators play in the global success of Indian regional literature? A. They commercialize regional literature for mass consumption. B. They ensure the original language's flavor and rhythm is preserved for global readers. C. They focus more on literal translation than artistic expression. D. They adapt the stories to Western tastes by modifying the content. Answer. B. They ensure the original language's flavor and rhythm is preserved for global readers. It's clearly mentioned that translators help retain the rhythms of the original language. 11. Main idea, theme-based conclusion question. Q11. What is the central theme of the editorial? A. Critique of mainstream literature ignoring regional voices. B. Celebration of Indian cinema at international platforms. C. Recognition of a Kannada author's win and its significance for regional languages. Promotion of translation as a tool for political activism. Answer. Recognition of a Kannada author's win and its significance for regional languages. Explanation. The entire editorial celebrates Mushtaq's win and how it boosts regional literature globally. Hash 12. Fact-based negative question. Identify incorrect statement. Q12. Which of the following statements is not correct according to the passage? A. Heart Lamp is the first short story collection to win the International Booker. B. Mushtaq is the first Indian woman to win the Nobel Prize in Literature. C. Deepa Bhashti translated the Kannada work into English. D. Mushtaq hails from Hassan and